Superman. The most powerful being on planet Earth. We finally meet. Now, as planned, I'll destroy you. And of course, that reporter you always do interviews with. Who raised you as a child? I'll kill them too.
No matter what you do to me, Luthor, your plans won't work.
Wrap it up.
Good luck with that. Hey! Quit messing around! I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff. Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Superman tickets are on sale, so they released the final trailer. There's a bunch of stuff going on here, a bunch of new footage, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're also doing a giveaway for tickets. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and just post your favorite moment from all these trailers in the comments. They even put early tickets on sale a couple days ago, so let me know if you actually got some of those early tickets. Just starting at the beginning of the new trailer footage, so they start with echoes of the John Williams theme, but it's actually the new thing that they did for the movie. So like they all remixed a lot of the classic music, so there should be some echoes of the classic John Williams Superman theme in the background during the movie. But they start with a little bit of Lex voiceover where it seems like he's already inside the Fortress of Solitude talking about like he says, Superman, as in Superman. Lois Lane is actually the person who coined the term Superman, like she named him Superman in her first article about him way before he ever revealed his secret identity to her, before they started going out or anything like that.
Sent here to help the world be a better place.
When the movie picks up, they've been going out for a little while, like it's closer to Superman Year 2, but the way that James Gunn said is that the world in general of the DCU is still relatively uneasy about Superman because he is so OP, like he is a living god walking around on Earth, and people just in general in the universe don't really know how to feel about him. They haven't been completely convinced that Superman is there to help them, whereas Superman on his side of things knows from his parents Jor-El and Lara, because he's seen their messages inside the Fortress of Solitude, like they've actually left recordings for him, have already let him know through that they sent him to Earth to protect Earth. So part of the idea during the movie is that he's been in the process of trying to convince everybody around Earth that he is there to help them. And he spends a lot of the movie doing that. Like, you spend a week in the life of Superman just kind of going through it with Lex Luthor on the other side of things, trying to prove to the world that he's evil and they should hate Superman. Which is why during this opening voiceover, when he talks about the people of Earth, they chose him, let them die. It sounds like when he's with all of his henchmen in that control room looking down at a bunch of attacks that are happening. This might be during the kaiju fight a little bit later in the movie. Not totally clear exactly what the progression of the different fights, the different threats that he faces are, but for the most part, all the different threats seem like they come from Lex Luthor in different forms. Like Lex Luthor just cooks up a whole bunch of different fights for him to face, trying to prove to the world that Superman is evil. As we could see across the trailer, unsuccessfully. There's a little bit of footage of him trying to stop the collateral damage from taking out a whole bunch of these just casual citizens driving around, like this woman in the car just noticing Superman trying to stop an entire building from falling on top of her. My assumption is that is from the kaiju fight. That's when all the buildings are getting knocked over, just because the kaiju is so big. We also know from the toys that Lex Luthor created the kaiju because you see him with the baby kaiju, so it seems like he grows him maybe inside that pocket dimension, the way that James Gunn calls it, the quantum unfolding space, which we actually see open up into the real world later in the trailer. It'd be sort of like if Peacemaker's father's quantum unfolding space, his pocket dimension, just opened up into the normal world. You literally see Lex Luthor's version of this displace the normal dimension, just pushing stuff out of the way. We get a longer scene of him with Miss Tessmacher, the engineer, and that evil Superman clone they're calling Ultraman arriving at the Fortress of Solitude. This is mostly meant to be echoes from Superman 2, where Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor brought Miss Tessmacher and his henchman like Otis to the Fortress of Solitude and learned about his Kryptonian parents. Lex Luthor seems like he does the same thing during this movie.
We finally meet.
That's what it seems like he's doing at the console, but I love the way that he walks up to the front door and says, "We finally made it," and the reason why his symbol activates and the doors open is because of the Superman clone, has Superman's DNA. I think it just reacts to Superman's DNA, the Fortress does. That's basically how his lock works. When he says we finally got here, I think the idea is that he's been waiting to find a way to make it into the Fortress of Solitude. Like he's known that it's existed, but when you see the fortress sort of surface, like it actually opens up out of the ground with the crystals, that's actually a really cool way of visualizing it too. It's also a really cool defensive mechanism as well, just keeping people from just breaking into it casually. My assumption is because Superman has been around for a couple years, Lex has used that time to find a way to clone Superman. He's using his DNA, Ultraman's DNA, to make it into the fortress to begin with. All because what better way for him to take Superman down than to use his own advanced Kryptonian technology against him? I've talked about this in earlier videos, but my theory is that he actually uses some message from Jor-El in a very Mysterio, Spider-Man No Way Home kind of way, like trying to turn the world against him using social media, using a message from Jor-El to Superman to make it seem like he's there to conquer Earth. All with the express purpose of making the world afraid, hate Superman, turn against him. We will see what he does to actually turn the world back towards him to prove to the world that he is there to help them. My assumption is that it has something to do with this final boss fight where you see him taking out all of Lex Luthor's Raptor troops in their armor suits in the air with his own heat vision. But I also love some of the small details here too. Like if you really think about it, taking his girlfriend, Miss Tessmacher, to the Fortress of Solitude, like taking my girlfriend where she's taking selfies all over the place to raid an alien fortress. When he says, "Now as planned, I'll destroy you," not really clear when that's happening in the context of the actual movie itself. That could be attached to the scene where Superman looks up in the sky and says, "Good luck with that," inside the quantum unfolding space. But I think the scene where Ultraman actually pushes Superman down into the pavement like they're arresting him might be when Lex Luthor captures him and traps him inside that quantum unfolding space for a brief period in those cells. Notice when he says that reporter that always interviews you, that's because Lex Luthor, for all of his genius, like he is meant to be a literal genius during this, has not figured out that Superman is Clark Kent.
Eventually people are gonna find out that you're Superman.
Yeah, but the glasses.
There was the earlier clip that I did a video for where you see Lois Lane telling Superman in a scene like this where they're together after a day at work and she's getting worried that everyone will figure out that he is Superman. Like people are going to figure out your secret identity, but he's like, no, they won't because of the glasses. In that last video I posted, I actually talk about real world examples for why his glasses disguise would work in real life. It's all because of an effect called observer bias, where you only see what you expect to see, and nobody looks at Clark Kent expecting to see Superman, so their brains just tune any other information that suggests that he might be Superman completely out. When he says, "Who raised you as a child?" also because Lex Luthor doesn't know that Superman is Clark Kent. He doesn't know about the Kent farm, doesn't know about the Kents, Ma and Pa. Not clear when he's actually lying in bed here, just looking like he's going through it, like he's got his butt handed to him. One of the big fights in the movie, this might be before one of the final big ones. My assumption is at some point Lex Luthor is able to twist Jor-El's message or something to turn the world against Superman, and Pa Kent gives him the pep talk that sort of gives him the rally to go stop Luthor and turn the world back in his favor. Like that scene where Ma Kent says, "I clean your boots, here you go," and he gets that determined look on his face, like, okay, back in. A little more confirmation on the timeline of the movie where this Lex Luthor voiceover is coming from. He's taking Superman through the quantum unfolding space to trap him in one of the cells. Not clear who this white being is that's running this little floating cart in front of him is. That could be a white Martian. It could just be a genetic experiment that Lex Luthor is making. My assumption is that's what most of these cells are actually full of. Just a bunch of experiments that Lex Luthor is running, but we do know from some of the other trailers that Metamorpho is trapped in one of them and creates kryptonite to stop Superman. But because Metamorpho is actually meant to be a good character in the context of the movie, the way that Anthony Carrigan, the actor from Gotham, he was on Gotham, he's been in a bunch of other stuff, said that he helps Lex Luthor is because Lex Luthor has trapped his wife Sapphire Stagg, who you can actually see in the purple dress in the cell next to him, and his son, Baby Joey. And we actually get a little confirmation about the timeline on this too, because you see when the quantum unfolding space sort of opens up into the normal world, you actually see some tendrils wrapped around Superman's neck here. He's actually holding Baby Joey in this scene, like he's rescued Baby Joey for Metamorpho. My assumption is that at some point during this, you actually see him fight Ultraman, because you see them fighting in a couple other places inside this quantum unfolding space, with Ultraman using his heat vision. Like, remember, he's a clone of Superman, so he has all Superman's powers, like his heat vision. We even get a better look at him without his black mask on, and I think there's a case to be made that he does turn into a version of Bizarro inside James Gunn's DCU, just because he looks so raw here. Like, this is crazy. Point when Superman is trapped in there, Mr. Terrific seems like he helps Lois Lane break into that space with his technology in his T-ship, and they fly that out eventually later. Like, they help rescue Superman, and that's why you see Lois Lane flying his T-Sphere ship. My assumption, too, is that it has something to do with the fight that's going on in that foreign territory, where you see Lex Luthor's Raptor troops in their armor suits all firing on Lois Lane, and Mr. Terrific protecting her with his T-Spheres. So that scene probably happens a little bit later in the movie. Not totally clear why it's going down in that foreign country. I think it's meant to be the Boravia country where you see the war going on. It might just be that's where an entrance to his pocket unfolding dimension is, and that's why he needs to take control of the country. There have been a lot of theories about that. It's just the idea that he is behind whatever war is going on in that foreign country to try and take it over for some reason. But I think the idea is that all the different storylines in the movie that we see, all the different fights, will tie together at the end of the film. And the big fight in the foreign country probably has something to do with this quantum unfolding space. My early assumption now, too, is the reason why he's bleeding in the snow here, like why he falls into the Arctic, is because he's trying to make it back to the Fortress of Solitude after a big fight. And it might be with Ultraman, because who else would be able to make Superman bleed like this than another version of Superman with the exact same power levels? Some of the footage in here we've already seen in previous clips, so I'm not going to talk too much about this, like the robots using the Kryptonian technology in the fortress to heal him with the rays of the sun. We've already seen a couple different looks at the kaiju fight here. You can see on the monitors there's like a baseball game in the middle of going on while he's fighting the kaiju. All the big belly burger ads. There's all kinds of advertisements, street signs, store names that are Easter eggs for comic book creators or people who are attached to the history of Superman in the comics and in real life. So when you do go see the movie, just keep your eyes peeled in the background. The names of things are often Easter eggs for different creators or different people associated with the Superman character. We get a little more voiceover from Superman talking to Lex Luthor, basically telling him off. A lot of his dialogue as Superman does sound very much in the tone of All-Star Superman dialogue. James Gunn did say that Grant Morrison comic book did inspire a lot of this movie. Basically, All-Star Superman combined with the Christopher Reeve Superman, I would say. Also very much the Christopher Reeve version of Clark Kent as well. Notice here when the quantum unfolding space opens up and he starts unloading on all the different Lex Luthor Raptor troops in their armor suits. A couple of funny slow motion scenes here too with him just opening up on his heat vision. You also see Krypto helping him out too. There's another funny reaction scene attached to this where you see Mr. Terrific pissed off that Superman brought Krypto, like, oh, you brought that dog?
Krypto! You brought that dog, man!
So it's not just Superman himself who has those funny scenes with Krypto, like everybody else trying to deal with a superpowered dog who thinks he's kind of annoying. We get a little scene of Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner Green Lantern going up against Superman. Notice he's using his ring, like that's why it's green all around them, because it's giving off its energy. Seems like something happens, like he does something to piss Superman off, or Superman does something to piss him off, which is why they almost throw down. I don't think they actually do. James Gunn and Nathan Fillion have said that part of the idea is that he's meant to come off as kind of an asshole, which is kind of the vibe in the comics, but he is meant to be a good character. Nathan Fillion also said that he just filmed some scenes as Guy Gardner for the Green Lantern HBO series too, where he's even more high-strung during that series than he is during the Superman movie here. You can let me know in the comments what you think would happen if Guy Gardner actually tried to punch Superman with his Green Lantern ring. He would probably be able to get a couple hits off before Superman actually really unloaded on him, but ultimately would not end well for Guy Gardner. We've already seen a whole bunch of these scenes of him fighting both the evil version of Superman, this clone, Ultraman, and the Engineer inside the Meteor Stadium. Using a couple wrestling moves here, suplexing him, maybe Superman just grew up being a wrestling fan, which it makes sense in context, like wrestling, very popular form of entertainment, so he probably did grow up watching some wrestling on TV. This is actually a bit of a stark contrast to Henry Cavill's Superman, who didn't know how to fight at all when the Kryptonians arrived during the Man of Steel movie, which is like a whole big thing. Like, Zack Snyder was very careful to show that why he was so bad as a fighter, because all of Zod's Kryptonians were part of the military. They were specifically trained fighters going up against Superman, who had never fought a day in his life. Maybe James Gunn is just saying, like, in modern context, Superman grew up watching a lot of fights happen in different ways, like wrestling, other types of fights on TV, and so he's just emulating that kind of stuff. We get a slightly better scene of Superman saving baby Joey in the quantum unfolding space, and you actually see Metamorpho over on the right here. He's the one with all these tendrils around Superman, so it seems like Metamorpho and Superman are working together to rescue baby Joey. My assumption is this is the process of the space just opening up into the real world, like where you actually see it carving out space, just pushing the buildings out of the way. Notice here Lois Lane is rescuing the other Daily Planet workers in the background, like Perry White chomping on a cigar in the middle of whatever adventure they're having here. Jimmy Olsen typing on his laptop, like doing an article in the background here on the T-Sphere ship. There's probably more in the background, like I think Cat Grant is in the background and Steve Lombard too. Like a giant chunk of the Daily Planet news reporter team is in this. Just another day in the trenches working on some more articles about Superman.
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Love the moment after the quantum unfolding space is opened up into the real world, and Mr. Terrific is just telling him to step to it, like, come on, we got stuff to do. And Superman's like, just give me a minute, just give me a minute. I'm doing real important stuff here. Also notice in the background, next to Superman, you see what looks like some weird black hole type of shape sucking in a whole bunch of this debris from the quantum unfolding space. My assumption is that they do something, like their fight does something inside this space that slowly destroys it, which causes what all you're seeing here, like all the chaos that's happening. This also probably partially explain how Peacemaker's father has the quantum unfolding space and just how that works exactly. There are a lot of different things we see during the Peacemaker trailer with him using it to go to other universes too. So even though I don't think there's going to be a lot of multiverse things happening during this Superman movie, maybe we'll see some references to that in the background. The other big thing going on here too, we see him use his heat vision, like I said. This probably isn't the first time that he uses his heat vision during the movie, but it is the first time we've seen Superman himself use his own heat vision in the trailers. You get to see Krypto here looking like he's about to have some fun too, taking all these Luthor Corp guards out. There was also a bunch of other footage that dropped in separate TV spots, like one scene that looks like that typical James Gunn perspective shot where Superman zooms in on his face as he comes out. Adam Warlock had a shot like that during Guardians of the Galaxy 3. There was a Black Adam shot like that. There's just been a lot of different movies that have used shots like that, like directors in general, not just James Gunn, but other directors seem fascinated by having shots like that. But because there's so much new stuff going on during this trailer, everybody just post all your favorite moments in the comments below, and if there's any other Easter eggs or references that you spotted that I didn't talk about during this, just write them below in the comments. Really interesting side note too, James Gunn also just announced that he's working on a new Wonder Woman movie, and there won't be a direct Superman sequel that he's planning on doing right away, but there will probably eventually be a Superman 2. My early prediction is that he actually does want to do a World's Finest movie at some point before a Superman sequel, but we'll see how long he waits before trying Superman 2. A lot of that just depends on how this does at the box office, and it literally crashed the Fandango ticket buying website the minute that this trailer went live, so you do not need to be a genius to figure out that this movie is probably going to earn plenty of money. What I'll do is I'll keep the ticket giveaway open in all my DC related videos, not just Superman videos, so I'll just name giveaway winners periodically when I post new DC videos. I'm also doing a Marvel version of this for the Fantastic Four movie tickets in all my Marvel videos too. I just posted some more videos for that. Click here for some of those, and click here for all my other Superman videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.